Welcome to the ABOP podcast. ABOP is the Alliance of Black Orchestral Percussionists, a nonprofit organization that focuses on mentoring future generations of Black percussionists. My name is Raynor Carroll. I am an ABOP founder. Thank you for joining our podcast. This episode features my take on preparing an orchestral audition. The orchestral audition experience is unique and complex. Over the years, the process has evolved from the music director listening to a few recommended students to several days involving hundreds of candidates, unions, audition committees, subcommittees, resumes, pre-screening audio-video, preliminary rounds, semifinal rounds, final rounds, and even super final rounds. What makes these auditions so competitive is the fact that they offer great benefits, especially in prestigious orchestras. Some of these benefits include competitive salaries, vacation time, health care, pensions, travel opportunities, and the chance to collaborate with other talented artists both on and off the stage. Musicians invest years of training developing their repertoire, ensemble skills, and understanding the finer nuances of orchestral performance. It's often said that mastering the art of auditioning is crucial for musicians to secure a spot in an orchestra. It's more or less the only way in. For percussionists, the preparation required is even more demanding. We must master a dozen different instruments which are essential for playing in a symphony orchestra percussion section. These instruments include timpani, snare drum, bass drum, cymbals, triangle, tambourine, castanets, marimba, xylophone, glockenspiel, chimes, and vibraphone, only to name a few. In this podcast, I'll share my recommendations on the preparation needed. My recommendations are not complete, but provide a helpful basis for pursuing an orchestral career, and they are not necessarily in a strict order. They are divided into two categories, before and after the audition announcement. Note that it might be helpful to view the program notes for this episode. Go to our website, click on the podcast page, and then select program notes for episode 20. Let's begin. Before the audition is announced, preparations to do now. Prepare your resume. A resume is essential for professional auditions. It serves as the organization's introduction to you and should reflect your qualifications and align with the position you're applying for. For instance, if you're applying for an orchestral position, avoid including information about percussion ensembles, jazz bands, and marching bands. These ensembles are valuable, but they don't necessarily directly relate to an orchestra job. Instead, focus on your experience in symphony orchestras. List the orchestras you've performed with, including your title, and provide details about your education, including the schools you attended and your primary teachers. Additionally, include any other significant accomplishments that showcase your orchestral experience, such as being an audition finalist in a specific orchestra or participating in a fellowship program with another orchestra. Provide 3 references from individuals who can personally speak about your musical talents. Before submitting your resume, consider seeking feedback from someone with experience in resume reading or writing. Also, remember to keep your resume updated with your latest activities. Next, learn the standard repertoire requested for auditions. There are many excerpts to learn, so take advantage of the time you have now. When an audition is announced, you may have anywhere from 3 to 6 months to prepare. Wouldn't it be to your advantage to start learning 95% of the excerpt list now? Most of the repertoire on orchestral audition lists does not change much from one audition to another. For instance, the timpani list will likely include Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, Hindemith's Symphonic Metamorphoses, Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony, and Bartók's Concerto for Orchestra. For percussion, you'll typically have excerpts from Scheherazade, Kije, Shostakovich's Tenth Symphony, Porgy and Bess, Polka, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Pines of Rome, Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony, Romeo and Juliet, Carnival Overture, Carmen, and so on. By the way, check the program notes for this episode on our website for a list of standard orchestral excerpts that are typically required on timpani and percussion auditions. So, if 95% of the repertoire is standard and you start working on them now, you'll be better prepared to present them at an audition because you won't have to learn all of the repertoire in a short amount of time. When the repertoire list is announced, you'll only need to focus on the small percentage of new or rarely requested excerpts while you can polish the standard rep. Bach and sight reading. A standard requirement for percussion auditions is to perform a movement from a Johann Sebastian Bach violin partita, sonata, or cello suite on the marimba. Sometimes the specific Bach solo will be specified, while other times you may have the choice of a 2 or 4 mallet solo. Therefore, it's an excellent opportunity to build your marimba repertoire and master at least one Bach solo for 2 mallets and one for 4 mallets. For timpani, while it's not always required to have a solo prepared, it's advisable to have a few ready just in case. Additionally, many auditions for timpani and percussion may indicate that sight reading may be required. This typically happens in a later round. Don't wait for this to be mentioned on the audition list. Instead, make sight reading a part of your daily routine. You'll be glad you did. Now is an ideal time to review your practice habits. Are you achieving the desired results? Is your time well spent and efficient? Remember, your goal is to progress through the repertoire gradually and steadily, gaining accuracy and mastering all the nuances required of the music. Avoid practicing passages while repeatedly making mistakes. If you are doing this, you're actually learning to make them. Instead, adopt a slow, methodical approach. Play the music at a significantly reduced tempo. Maintain a comfortable dynamic of mezzo forte and break down the passage as needed. This may involve removing accents, dynamics, rolls, simplifying the rhythm, or even playing one hand at a time, and so on. Create a daily practice schedule. Identify your most productive time of the day, whether it's morning or evening. Dedicate a significant portion of your practice time when you're fresh and focused. After a full day of activities like classes, academic studies, work, and other responsibilities, you'll likely be tired. If that's the case, try to squeeze in more practice early in the day while you're still energized. You can also have a brief session in the evening. When developing your practice schedule, plan to initially focus on your weaknesses, whether it's mallets, snare, or any other instrument. Avoid dividing your time equally. Instead, allocate more time to the instruments and excerpts that you're least comfortable with. Avoid long practice sessions. Instead, opt for smaller, daily sessions that don't tire your body and mind. Keep a journal or practice log to track your progress. Note the metronome markings and other relevant details for each excerpt. Review your prioritized excerpt list and adjust the order of the excerpts as you make progress. Utilize technology to record yourself frequently. Pay attention to tempo, rhythm, phrasing, and the dynamics. Send segments of your sessions to your teacher for feedback. Be aware of how different felt or yarn mallets and instruments wear with daily use. Mallets tend to become harder and may sound different from months ago. Have alternate choices. Make sure personal instruments to be used at the audition are in optimal playing condition. For instance, snare and tambourine heads. Pay attention to any aches or pains you experience. Listen to your body and avoid overdoing the daily routine. Ensure you're getting the necessary nutrients by checking your diet. Avoid quick meals of fast food and excessive caffeine. Be mindful of your mental health, including stress and fatigue. Take breaks to rest and recharge. Practice deep breathing exercises and make sure to get enough sleep. Immerse yourself in orchestral percussion. Attend live performances, rehearsals, and masterclasses on orchestral instruments. Consider taking lessons with different teachers for different interpretations. Watch videos, listen to recordings, study scores, and ask questions. Don't try to prepare for an audition on your own. Seek professional guidance from someone who has experience in orchestral percussion. They can provide direction and advice. Now we move on to after the audition is announced. Details to consider. Dates and location. Mark in your calendar the date the resume and deposit are due. Note that the deposit is usually refundable at the audition, but if you don't show up, your refund is forfeited. Also make a note of the dates for the live audition. Consider your travel arrangements, including expenses for the flight, accommodation, food, and local transportation. Start planning the arrangements and how to pay for the expenses. Information on the position. Research the history. For instance, is the opening for someone that predominantly played accessory percussion or drum set when needed? Although the title might not be official, does the position include playing second timpani or assistant principal percussion? Also, research information on the music director. Listen and watch videos of the music director's interpretations, tempi, percussion, and timpani tendencies. Pre-screening recording requirements. Sometimes candidates are asked to submit a recording, usually audio with video, prior to the live audition date. This can be considered a preliminary round where the orchestra pre-screens candidates for various reasons, perhaps lack of orchestral experience on the resume. The repertoire for this recorded submission will be limited to perhaps 5 to 10 excerpts. Make sure to pay attention to all of the details given for this submission, including the excerpts, where to begin and end, editing, whether or not you may record each excerpt separately or need to do one continuous recording, any technical specifications for recording, how to label your submission, where to submit it, and of course, the due date. Keep in mind that whatever recording you include with your submission, it is understood to be representative of your playing. Don't send recordings that are flawed with poor accuracy, intonation, rhythm, and so on. If you do, don't expect to receive an invite to play live. On the other hand, our union stands behind us, and if you're applying for a union gig, the orchestra has to allow you to play a live audition if you show up. But I will add to that and say, if you show up and request to be heard, you had better be ready. Otherwise, you may be proving their point. You are not meeting high enough standards. Regarding your recorded submission, begin recording as soon as possible. Capture the best possible sound. This is the essence of what the orchestra is looking for, your level of playing and the sound you produce on the instruments. Find a quiet space, not too small, not too big, and experiment with different mallets to create the best possible sound on each instrument. Make sure the instrument is heard clearly, free of any distortion, rattles, or squeaks. Your recording is a reflection of you. Required repertoire. Some organizations will provide digital files of all the required repertoire. Others will only specify the composer, composition, and the excerpt from the composition. In this case, it is up to you to find the sheet music. Most public domain, copyright-free music is available in several different editions. You may need to ask which edition is being used. A great source for public domain music is imslp.org. You'll find the URL address in the program notes for this episode. Also, look for any sight reading requirements, which is typically asked in later rounds. Now, categorize the repertoire based on your proficiency level on each excerpt. Start with the most time-consuming pieces, followed by those you're somewhat familiar with, and finally those you worked up to a high level and are ready to present. Listen to several recordings of the repertoire to familiarize yourself with tempi, interpretation, dynamics, and other elements. Ideally, listen and view recordings with the music director and/or the orchestra. Listen to the entire composition to gain a better understanding of the excerpt. Make a note of any instrument specifications, what's provided, and what personal equipment can be used, usually provided at a later date. Set a realistic date ahead of the submission live audition deadline for mastering the repertoire list. Once you've mastered the required excerpts and feel confident in your playing, transition from practicing them to performing them at the audition. Play each excerpt once and then move on to the next one. As your confidence grows, also present mock auditions. Offer a selection of excerpts or the entire list to teachers, musicians, non-musicians, friends, family, and anyone who makes you feel uncomfortable or nervous. The more you perform the repertoire in front of others, the less intimidating it will become during the actual audition. To prepare for a new environment and unfamiliar instruments at the audition, if possible, practice mock auditions in unfamiliar places and on instruments you've never played on before. And always ask for feedback. Pace yourself as you approach the audition date. Avoid overextending yourself physically or mentally. You want to be fresh and confident for the audition, not tired or fatigued from excessive practice. Ideally, you should be playing through the repertoire without needing any additional practice. So, to summarize the major points in audition preparation, before an audition is announced, create a one-page resume focused on orchestral performance. Learn the standard orchestral repertoire. Include a Bach 2 and 4 mallet marimba solo along with sight reading in your preparations. Fine-tune your practice habits to make the most of your practice time. This includes slow practice at a moderate dynamic and breaking down passages as needed. Develop a consistent daily practice routine that focuses on your weaknesses and is not fatiguing. Track your progress with a journal or practice log. Review your prioritized excerpt lists regularly and make adjustments as you progress. Record yourself often and note any mallet or instrument wear and tear. Be aware of your physical and mental well-being. Immerse yourself in orchestral percussion through lessons, performances, master classes, video, recordings, and score study. Seek guidance and mentorship from an orchestral percussionist. Once an audition is announced, make note of the dates and location, research information about the position and the music director, make note of any pre-screening requirements, categorize the repertoire list from most difficult to the least difficult, listen and watch recordings of the music director or the orchestra performing the repertoire. Make note of the instruments that will be provided at the audition. Set a date to transition from practicing the repertoire to performing mock auditions. As the audition approaches, pace yourself to avoid injury or fatigue. And finally, let me say, enjoy the journey. Yes, there is much repertoire to learn, much hard work, many sacrifices to make, but I hope it strengthens your bond with percussion and the music. I believe the deeper we explore ourselves in pursuit of a passion, the more we learn about life, our community, and ourselves. I hope it brings you joy from within. That concludes this episode, Orchestral Audition Preparation. I hope this information is helpful in your future preparations. If you have any questions, feel free to send an email to me at info@abop.us. Also, don't forget to check out our podcast page on our website for program notes on this episode, which includes audition lists and other useful information. A special thank you to our supporters and sponsors of ABOP's mentorship program. Our corporate sponsors include Black Swamp Percussion, Cooperman, Freer Percussion, Innovative Percussion, InSound Mallets, Majestic Percussion, Marimba One, Malatech, Remo, Sabian, Vic Firth, and Zildjian. ABOP is a nonprofit. Your donations are tax deductible. Check out our website, www.abop.us, for information on how you can contribute. Please follow our podcast and spread the word about ABOP. We greatly appreciate your support. We are the Alliance of Black Orchestral Percussionists, ABOP. Thank you for listening.